Hello everyone, my name is Laurel Yoder and I'm one of the counseling interns at the Center for Counseling at Asbury University. In addition to pursuing becoming a mental health counselor, I also have been a board certified music therapist for the last 5 years. So today I'd like to talk to you about how to choose music for relaxation that's best suited to your individual needs. 2 things you should know before beginning this video. 1, this is not a list of artists, musicians, pieces, songs, whatever you want to call them, that you should listen to for relaxation. This is not a playlist. And I'll explore why it's important that the music is tailored to your interests in a moment. So that's the first thing to note. And the second thing is this. So this video is meant to be paired with other activities that are relaxing that you might have seen the Center for Counseling release through some other videos. So it might be progressive muscle relaxation, breathing activities, mindfulness activities. This type of music will be best paired with those videos, or this activity will be best paired with those videos. Or you could listen to music and just engage in breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth with the tempo of the music. How you use it is up to you. So let's go back to why this music needs to be tailored. So the first part of this is to know that in music, there was a man in 1967 named Berlin who came up with an arousal theory in music that later became the optimal complexity theory. So if you will, imagine an X and a Y axis and then an upside down horseshoe or an upside down U on that X and Y axis. And on the x-axis is complexity, and on the y-axis is liking. And basically what this says is you will like music more if it's neither too complex or too simple, neither too familiar or too unfamiliar. So that's why you have musicians like jazz musicians who can really hear and are really into the complexity of the music. It's why babies don't like jazz music. It's too unfamiliar to them and it's too complex for them. And it's why we get bored as adults with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or Wheels on the Bus over and over again. It's too familiar, it's too simple. And so there's a lot of breadth in the middle there for how adults choose music that they like. For example, pop music. Pop music has a very, it morphs over time, but has a very consistent structure and often the same chord progressions. And at the same time, it introduces just a little bit of something new over time. So right now in pop music, one of the things to include is oohs and ahs, or maybe just a little bit of electronic bass or something like that. And that is neither too unfamiliar that we get bored with it. It's got just enough that we go, yeah, I like this. This sounds like the kind of music I listen to. But then it adds something that kind of edges your interest and says, oh, that's new. I think I like that. So it's not too complex. It's out of the realm of interest. Again, that's why jazz musicians really, their jazz is not too complex for them. But for many of us it is, because it's not something that we've really listened to. It's unfamiliar, or it's musically complex and it doesn't make sense to us. So think about that optimum complexity theory and what type of music it is that you normally listen to. Whether it be pop or contemporary Christian, classical, hip-hop, you name it. Either way, there are certain things that you can expect and then new pieces that are introduced. So at the peak of that U, that upside down U, that's where the optimum complexity is. For relaxation, we're going to choose a step below that. We're not trying to edge our interest or push into something new. We're actually trying to stay right where it's familiar for you. And you're not going to be having your interest peaked, because we want our arousal level to remain low when we're relaxing. So that's the first part of this. And the second part is that Grock and Wigram in 2007, these are 2 researchers that are largely tied to music therapy, came up with a list of things that you want to look for in choosing music for relaxation. And I want to share some of these with you. And this is important to note. Firstly, do not choose, if you can, do not choose music with lyrics. we're trying to stay in a space of relaxation, which means you don't want to be listening and having your mind go elsewhere. We're trying to stay present and stay calm. So again, that kind of gets into that complexity area. Unless this is a song you've listened to 20 times in a row, or throughout all your life, try and stay away from lyrics, because that will divide your attention. And then here are some other things to note. The tempo is consistent and steady. You don't want any speeding up or slowing down of the tempo. If that happens, what you end up kind of going, I don't know what to expect. And music is really wonderful about organizing time. And so we want it to be consistent so that you can engage in relaxation without wondering what's coming next. The tempo itself is slow. We know that there's a physiological response to music. So your breathing will increase, and maybe your heart rate will increase as well when listening to music. So pick something slower if you're trying to choose something for relaxation. Most pop and contemporary Christian music, really most music that we hear in Western culture in general, is either duple or triple time. And so they recommend that because, again, that's expected, and it does a really nice job of organizing time. The melodic line may be predictable with a rounded shape, and so that means it kind of goes up a little bit and then it comes back down. And a small range of intervals in a stepwise progression. The phrases of the melody may be in a predictable pattern. So that means you don't want notes jumping all over the place simply because you won't know what to expect. And you want to know what to expect when relaxing. Harmonic structure is typically tonal and consonant, which just means a lot of what you hear in pop music, for example. Take this with a grain of salt if you are a jazz musician or you've been listening to bands like Animal Collective for a really long time, even though they really have a lot of tonal pieces. You still want to make sure that at the same time, the structure is typically consonant and tonal. Predictable, essentially. Instrumentation is likely to include strings and woodwinds. That's if you're choosing classical music for the most part. If you're a brass musician or a percussionist and that's what you find relaxing, I say go for it. Again, think of that optimal complexity. Predominantly legato or smooth. And then there might be few dynamic changes. So there's actually a symphony called Haydn's Surprise Symphony, which was meant to be really quiet and then wake everybody up and have some big dynamic changes. You don't want to go from soft to loud really quickly in a piece because that, again, increases your arousal and we're trying to relax. Repetition is key. So choose something that goes the same over and over again. Again, trying to be able to predict what's happening. Texture is consistent, so we're not adding a whole lot and taking away a whole lot. The music is going to sound pretty consistent. And then this is really important, a supportive bass line. We know that supportive bass lines can be really helpful in physiologically feeling supported. And bass lines can really resonate deeply within us. And then their final piece to wrap it all up was predictable and melodic, rhythmic, and harmonic structures, which is basically, to wrap all this up, you want the music to be predictable, but you also want it to be somewhere in your realm of optimal complexity, just a little bit below it. We're not edging and trying to increase the complexity of our musical taste. We're trying to stay where it's comfortable. I hope this is helpful for you. A piece, I will leave you with one piece that I think many people who do like contemporary Christian or pop music may enjoy because it fits this criteria, and pop is exactly that, popular, so it may fit a larger demographic. This song is called Reckless by the Eastern Plain, And there's an instrumental version, and I recommend that instrumental version, again, because we're not doing lyrics, but it has a supportive bass line. The melodic structure is repetitive. It's predictable. It has a rounded structure to it, and it's in, I think 6/8 time, or so you can either divide the beats into 6 or into 2, and breathe in for 2, hold for 2. Breathe out for 2, hold for 2. And you don't have to be a musician to feel the beat of the music and know when to breathe and when to breathe out. You will do that naturally for the most part. All right, I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful time relaxing and using music and choosing music in this time of COVID-19.